Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. So, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Madhava ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Vamanadev's appearance day ki, Shri Jiva Goswami Tirobhava Mahotsav ki, Agaur Premanande, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nevasesha Sanyavadi Pastichari Shatarine. Somebody can bring a songbook for me. A songbook from the shelf, please. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I've chosen a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam for today's class. It's quite a famous verse. We often refer to this verse. Actually, there's an interesting verse here. Yeah. I'll just read a little prelude to the subject matter, which will primarily be discussing Lord Vamanadeva today, primarily. Before we begin on a little discussion of the appearance of Lord Vamanadeva, we'll mention a couple of things about Jiva Goswami. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had many unlimited followers, amongst them, in our particular line, from the point of view of Siddhanta, or establishing the path of practical devotional service, as well as the truth of devotional service and the objective goal, we could say that the 6 Goswamis, who were primary, you could say, followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, established the truths, the path, and the objective goal. And amongst them, they're all great philosophers, Prabhupada said. They're the greatest philosophers in the world. But amongst them, Jiva Goswami was the greatest. So Jiva Goswami was considered to be the greatest philosopher. In fact, in 1972 in London, we were in the temple, and there was an exhibition in the London School of Oriental and Asian Studies, and it was a display of the writings of the Goswamis, Rupa and Jiva, predominantly. And the big banner in the university said, 2 of the greatest philosophers the world has ever known. They also recognized, maybe not to the full extent, but they recognized to a large extent the greatness of Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami particularly extensively wrote, and particularly in his Satsandarbhas, his compilation, making very clear the Siddhanta, the truth of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the truth of the Absolute, and all various tattvas, various kinds of truths of the material energy, the jiva, the relationships, the spiritual realm, the spiritual energy, the absolute truth, the truths regarding, including in dealing with relationship, guru, disciple, so many things which are, let's say, vague in most people's minds or misinterpreted, clarified basically all the various philosophical points. And in that regards, if you ever been to Varanasi University, which you probably have not been, there's a whole department there. In fact, the whole Sanskrit department basically is dedicated to Jiva Goswami. The whole wing institute is named after Jiva Goswami because he was a great scholar, not only of philosophy but of Sanskrit and so on. And there are many other things that could be said. He was the youngest of the Goswami. He was the nephew of Rupa and Sanatan. And like that, he resided in Vrindavan and compiled many, many texts, scriptures, which our whole life basically, and the other Goswamis, Rupa and Sanatan of course, but Jiva Goswami particularly established the path of devotion. So we're going to read now this verse from the Bhagavatam, 8:23-16. Is it on the board? Yeah. Should be, I wrote it. It doesn't mean it should be, but it is. Someone's rubbed it off. It's a very worthwhile verse to learn. And why I chose this amongst many verses in this section, which are very significant verses. This verse is a good one to learn, especially in regards to our practice of chanting the holy name. This verse is one. Is there someone else giving class over here, or how does this work? It's gradually moving. Let's see it. One reason is maybe this is too tight. And let's see. Push it that way. Maybe that won't work. So we can try to learn this verse today if you wish. Mantratas, tantratash, chidrang. Don't mind me asking, but is there a little bit of light? It's quite dark in here. Desha, kalaha, vastutaha, sarvang, karoti, nischidram, anu, sankirtanam, tava. It's quite an easy verse. Some of you may know it already. You probably know it already. Your shloka wala. Mantratas tantratash chidrang, deshakalaha vastutaha, sarvang karoti nischidram, anusankirtanang tava, mantratas tantratash chidrang, desha kalarha vastutaha, sarvang karoti nischidram, anusankirtanang tava, mantratas tantratash chidram, deshakalarha vastutaha, sarvang karoti nischidram, anusankirtanang tava. So you should have all memorized it by now. We can maybe take the board away and close your mobile phones or whatever else you've got and repeat the verse. Isn't it 3 times should be enough to remember? Is that right? What do you think? You can remember? You're young. Those who are over 65 are excused from this. But if you're under 65, you should have memorized it by now. You're over 65, Jyoti, are you?
also.
Yeah, he's also, you're excused, okay? Not entirely, but sufficiently excused. If you don't remember every word, you might miss one or two words out or something, you know. Or you may remember one or two words. Maybe you can remember Sankirtan or mantra. Mantra is quite easy, isn't it? Look at the last line. It's quite an easy line, really, isn't it? One of the good ways to remember the verse is to remember what it means, word for word. So I'm going to go, we'll come back to you chanting in a minute, but we're going to go through the word for word because it actually does. It has a help, it does help to remember the verse. Mantra taha. You'll see when the words are on their own, they're slightly differently written. I don't know the technical term for that, but that's just how it is in Sanskrit. And that means it's not just a mantra. Mantra, you know what a mantra is? What's a mantra? Yeah, if you literally, if you want to say it, some kind of, people say mantra, some kind of Vedic kind of verse of some kind. Here it says, Vedic mantras. Mantrataha, in pronouncing the Vedic mantras improperly. Interesting, eh? Not properly pronounced. Not properly pronouncing the mantras. Mantratas, in this case. Tantrataha. Again, it's related. Mantra, tantra. There are also Vedic scriptures. Sometimes they're called, some of the scriptures are called tantras. They may outline various principles, regulated principles to follow and so on. Tantrataha, in this case, is in insufficient knowledge. In insufficient knowledge for following regulated principles. We don't have the proper knowledge of what to follow. Tantras are supposed to give the proper direction there. Chidram. In this case it means discrepancy. Something's wrong, huh? Desha. You may know this verse already. Desha Kalapatra. Desha means, sometimes you see Radha Desha. Location or place or country, like that. Kala. You may know what kala means. Time, famous word, kala. Arha, and recipient. Vastutaha. This word vastu is quite a common word. Many times devotees have kind of taken it very to heart, very seriously. Prabhupada mentions the word here and there. It's mentioned in Vedas here and in Vedas many times, but in our Gaudiya line it's mentioned a few times, not much. Srila Prabhupada did not put a great deal of emphasis on what we call vastu, directions, proper locations. He did mention it and he did suggest it on occasions, but he didn't put. Otherwise, the danger is we become overly dependent on, let's say, relativity rather than absolute. Astrology is in the same bracket. It may be useful, but we can't depend upon it. All these various material, they're sciences, they're Vedic sciences. They do come from the Vedas. They are ultimately descending from Krishna, and they're meant to be utilized in situations within the modes of nature to facilitate the peace in society, but they're not actually transcendental in of themselves. So they can be utilized, but they should not utilize us. They can be utilized to increase or to improve the facility for people to surrender to Krishna. If that actually works, then they have everything in the material world is like that, basically. If it's favorable for the awakening of surrender to Krishna, so be it. But if it becomes that which we depend upon, then it can be an obstacle on our path. Because we're depending on, this and other things, and not depending exactly on Krishna, a very indirect form of dependence. Lord Chaitanya has established the direct form of depending on Krishna, and that's our primary thing. So if the indirect things, the secondary items in the Vedic directives, help us to become more surrendered to Krishna, then they can be useful. So vastutaha, in this case, it refers to paraphernalia. It can be in the sense of the arrangements, the directions of things, the arrangements of structure and so on in the material universe. Based on it, ultimately, is based on vastu. Next word, sarvam. You may know this word. Sarvam. Sarvam means all these. Karoti. Makes. This is also in the Bhagavad Gita. Yat karoshi dashnasi. It has a similar meaning. Nischidram. Now, we heard about chidram. Chidram was mentioned in the first line, the end there. What did we hear that chidram meant? Who remembers what chidram means? Pardon? Discrepancy. Faults. Not correct. Discrepancy. So, nischidram means? Without discrepancy. There's a common opposite. Nischidram. Without discrepancy. The next word, you may be able to work out what it means. Anusankirtanam. Very good. So you can break it into two. Anu and Sankirtan. Anyone know what Sankirtan means? I hope you do. What is Sankirtan? Huh? Yes, the chanting of the holy names. And usually we say congregational chanting of the holy names. The word anu may be used in different ways. What's anu? Pardon? It has different names. To follow. To follow, it can also mean, we have a famous verse of Rupa Goswami. Huh? What is that verse? Anukulyena Krishnanu Krishna Anu. Anukulyena Krishna Anu. The cultivation by following the path of devotional service. Favorable. This is a favorable path. We follow the great personalities, the great devotees of the Lord. It can also mean constant. In this case, it means constantly chanting the holy name. Constantly chanting the holy name. Prabhupada is very merciful. The actual meaning is constantly chanting. Tava, it means of your lordship. The translation to this verse, now we'll give you 2 or 3 of you who can chant it now. So mantra, tantra, chidram, desha, place, kalaha, refers to time, vastuta, place, circumstances, sarvam, all that is done, the various activity and so on. Nischidram, faultless, and sankirtanam, if your name is constantly chanted. It's kind of an easy verse in some ways. Anyone like to give it a bash? Boys, ladies, gentlemen, anyone? Well, you can look at the board. You don't have to.
Mantratas tantratas chidram.
Mantratas tantratas chidram. Deshakalaha vastutaha. Sarvam karoti nischidram. Anusankirtanam tava. One more.
Mantratas tantratas chidram.
Mantratas tantratas chidram.
Deshakalaha vastutaha.
Deshakalaha vastutaha.
Sarvam karoti nichidram.
Sarvam karoti nischidram.
Sankirtanam Tava.
Anusankirtanam Tava. Now that's enough for the gentlemen. Two ladies, but it's the two devotees who chanted are both over 65. Doesn't speak much for the younger ones. The ladies' side, anyone under 65 would like to chant? Oh, you're disqualified. Is there anyone under 65? Maybe there isn't anyone. There's one at the back there. Okay, one at the back. Mantratas chantatas chidram Deha kalaha vasta. She memorized it. Navam karoti nischidram Anu sankirtanam tava. Come on. Mantratas tantatas chidram Deha kalaha vastutaha Sarvam karoti nischidram Anusankirtanam tava. Jai. So you can think about this verse today. It's relevant from so many angles. And it's very relevant in this pastime. Just before this verse, this is one of the last verses in the pastime of Lord Vamanadeva. It's one of the concluding verses. And Bali Maharaj has also already been sent down to the lower planets, along with his family, and Prahlad Maharaj also went with him. And the ceremony was halted, it didn't take place. They were performing a big yajna, a big sacrifice. Bali Maharaj, by the way, at this time, before this event, was more or less controlling the whole universe. He conquered the heavenly planets, the lower planets, the middle planets. Lower planets were already under him. He conquered all the other planetary systems. He drove Indra and all the demigods out of their positions. They were running for their lives. Not all the demigods, the higher ones like Brahma and Shiva and others, they were not affected. But the heavenly ones like Indra and his clan, they were all sent running. They were hiding. And we'll go back to that in a minute. And we know, roughly, you know the pastime, most of you. Spiritual master of Bali Maharaj, Shukracharya, had cursed him to go down to the lower planets. So he did. And we'll go back to all of this a bit later. But Bali Maharaj, Vamanadeva then, in the form of Lord Vishnu, then he asked Shukracharya, so, tell me, why did you curse him? Why did you curse him? What was his fault? Explain this. And Shukracharya answered. So let's read. This is spoken by Shukracharya. This verse is spoken by Shukracharya. We don't normally consider Shukracharya one of our, positive gurus. He's the spiritual guide, the guru of the demons. But here we have him speaking a verse which is highly, let's say, used and followed by the devotees, the Vaishnavas. And Shukracharya said, actually, my Lord, ultimately, actually everything's arranged by you, in one sense. We're just instruments. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing the mantras and observing the regulative principles, and moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, and paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. Now, as I said, Prabhupada is very merciful in a sense, giving us a chance, because the translation, the actual word is constantly chanting the holy name. Not just Hare Krishna, everything's fine. And this is one of the reasons during yajnas, later on there's a verse in this chapter which describes that during the performance, particularly of Karmakandya yajnas, but it can be any yajna, that this should be understood. This principle should be understood. The pastimes of Vamanadeva should be described. And Prabhupada established, at least, I don't know if he established directly, but from the moment I joined it, every single yajna, no matter what they were in ISKCON, the chanting of the holy name did not stop from beginning to end. There was a kirtan and japa going on constantly throughout the yajna. That doesn't go on in so many of our yajnas now, because 100% sure that however good the priest is, it is not correct according to Vedic standards. No way. The mantras are not chanted properly. Someone's got their finger on their toes, in their nose, in their ear, in their mouth. Some baby's drooling. So many things are going on. It's very strict, these Vedic standards. So Prabhupada didn't establish that. It was very simple, he didn't get into it. But the main thing was the chanting of the holy name. We also established on every corner 4 Shastras were read throughout the actual fire yajna. I don't know, it's sort of drifted away. Maybe it wasn't a fact that Prabhupada made it a law. Nothing's absolute perhaps, but that was the system we always had in the early 70s with any fire yajna. The fire yajna was super simple, but the chanting went on, and that was the real yajna, was the chanting, everyone chanting the holy names. So, this verse is very special, but here it says always chanting. So, here we have particularly for a particular Agnihotra, a fire yajna is referring to that. But it can refer to all sorts of situations. Let's read the purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's recommended. Can you guess, if you don't repeat what you're reading in your phone, on your phone. Can anyone guess what Lord Chaitanya recommended? Can anyone guess? We're all in the right direction. Pardon? All good, right? All nice directions. One verse which Prabhupada quotes here, perhaps the most famous verse in this regards. Can someone say? Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam. Come louder. And if you don't know what it means, somebody who knows can tell us what it means. What does it mean? Loud and clear. Someone like to say? Anybody? Not to get it actually absolute. Yes.
No other way, there is no other way, no other way.
Yeah, there's no other way. Exactly. Simple as that. There is no other way. Usually when you say there's no other way, you have to at least give an indication what the way is. Otherwise you're left in the Brahmajyoti or something. Even that's a way. What's the other half of the verse?
There is no other way than to chanting the holy name.
Chanting the holy names, chanting the holy names, chanting the holy names. Certainly there is no other way in this age of Kali. There is no other way, there is no other way. In this age. In this age particularly. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, Kali, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. And that's from the Puranas, a famous verse from the Brihad Naradiya Purana. In this age of Kali, it is extremely difficult to perform Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or sacrifices perfectly. Hardly anyone can chant the Vedic mantras with perfect pronunciation or accumulate the paraphernalia for Vedic performances. Sometimes we see devotees using plastic utensils, aluminium utensils. In some places they don't even have a ghee. They have no ghee. They're using some other item. And, the spoons we use, Shrava, are often made of metal or something even worse sometimes. And on the kund, it's often, layer of aluminium foil around the kund, and all kinds of things. Some nylon cloth or something on the ground. Everything's wrong. The direction's wrong. The mantra's all over the place. Most devotees, unless they're really proficient, chant all kinds of mantras and they miss things out and so on and so forth. Therefore, the sacrifice recommended in this age is Sankirtan, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And another famous verse, 11th canto, 5th chapter, text 29. Who knows the verse? Krishna Varnam. Yajnai Sankirtanam Prair is Sankirtan. This is the way, instead of wasting time performing Vedic sacrifices, those who are intelligent, those who possess good brain substance, Sumedashaha, should take to the chanting of the Lord's holy name and thus perform sacrifice perfectly. And again, it's the same thing. These other things do not replace the primary purpose, the primary activity of chanting the holy name. This is the only way. Only way means there is no other way. Doesn't mean, this way, that way, anyway. It's not. This is the only way. Other things may go on if they facilitate the chanting of the holy name. Otherwise, Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj said, they are obstacles on the path of devotion. Obstacles. They're not at all favorable, unless they increase the chanting of the holy name or our faith and dependence on the holy name. That's the center point. I have seen that many religious leaders are addicted to performing yajnas and spending hundreds and thousands of rupees for imperfect sacrificial performances, Prabhupada says. This is a lesson for those who unnecessarily execute such imperfect sacrifices. We should take the advice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yajnaya Sankirtanam Prayarya Jandihi Sumedasha. Although Shukracharya was a strict Brahmin, addicted to ritualistic activity, he also admitted, Nischidram Sankirtanam Tava. My Lord, constant chanting of the holy name of your Lordship makes everything perfect. So we should try to increase our chanting. Don't minimize. Problems are, what can we say? When we see things separate from Krishna, there's a problem. Now, this one or that one. But just keep chanting Hare Krishna throughout thick and thin. And everything becomes faultless. In Kali Yuga, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies cannot be performed as perfectly as before. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami has recommended that although one should take care to follow all the principles in every kind of spiritual activity, especially in the worship of the deity, I'd just like to say how beautiful the deities are always, beautifully dressed, beautifully ornamented, and they just look beautiful. The deities, the pujaris are doing a wonderful service in attracting our attention towards the Lord. It's such a beautiful, everyone who came last weekend I spoke to said these deities are spectacular amongst all the deities in the world. Even devotees coming from New Govardhan were having a difficult time saying that these deities are more attractive than the ones in New Govardhan. They were having a difficult time saying that the Govardhan deities were more attractive than these. But they had to admit that there was something unique, very unique. They're very special. Perhaps in the whole world, they are the most beautiful three sets of deities. They're very special. And many devotees said that they could feel that they were just as if they were right in front of you. It's not like, there they are. They were like right with you. And absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Even for conditioned souls like ourselves, we could feel something there. Even in the worship of the deity, there is still a chance of discrepancy. And one should compensate for this by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in our Krishna consciousness movement, and we therefore give special stress to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra in all activities. It's not this activity and that activity, but in all activities, stress should be there in chanting the holy names of Krishna, whether you're cleaning, cooking, managing, doing daily worship, driving a car, doing the farming, whatever service it may be, raising a baby, the emphasis should be on chanting the holy name of Krishna. End of purport. So we're going to have, oh boy, so little time, briefly go to the history of this amazing pastime which leads up to this, basically speaking. And we're not so aware of it. We're only limited in our understanding of the universe. But the Vedas give descriptions of universal history. Universal history, not just the history of this little time that we're in. Through time, space, through eternity, all throughout the history of the universe, basically. Going back billions of years. So at this point of time, this pastime of Lord Vamana means like a dwarf, dwarf-like. This history goes back a little bit, we'll pace a little bit. The demons and the demigods. Now the demons are those who are opposed to, let's say, worshipping God, and the demigods worship God. They may be materialistic, but they do accept that the purpose of life is to worship God. They do accept that everything belongs to God. The demons, nowadays they don't, but previously powerful demons, they utilized the Vedic texts, they utilized the power of Brahmins to achieve their own strength. But their goal was not to glorify God, it was to get their own power, to become powerful of themselves. The demigods were not like that. They desired in their worship material pleasure. They wanted to enjoy the material world, but they recognized that everything was mercy of God, and they worked under His direction. But they were attached to the material facilities in many cases, not every case, but in many cases. They're called Sakama Bhaktas, materialistic devotees. The demons are not devotees normally. But in this is an exceptional case in this particular pastime, but we haven't time to go there. Anyway, the demons had conquered, the time element, providentially speaking, was in favor of the demons, and they'd driven the demigods out of the heavens. And Bali Maharaj was the king of all the demons at that time, and they were occupying the universe. So the mother of the demigods, her name is Aditi. There are two sisters, Diti and Aditi. They both had the same husband, Kashyapa Muni. And Diti was the mother of the demons. They're called Daityas, sons or children of Diti. And Aditi, her sons were the demigods. It's all part of universal creation, early days. And with the demigods all driven out of their post, Mother Aditi is very unhappy. She goes to her husband. I can't tolerate this. All my children have been driven out of their positions. So her husband gave her some direction to perform a yajna, a sacrifice, not a yajna exactly, but an austerity, payovrata. Huh? She performed this austerity for, I don't know, maybe a year or something, given to her by her husband, and at the end of that, the Lord appeared before her. She followed her husband very attentively, very carefully and successfully, and her husband was performing austerities. And the Lord appeared, and he appeared to her knowing what her desire was, but he said, right now, the time is not right. It's not the right time. Time will come, but it's not right now. But at the same time, because of your austerities and the austerities of your husband, I have to fulfill your wish. So he had to think of a way in order to reestablish the demigods in their positions. So this is why he appeared as Lord Vamanadeva, a little Brahmin boy. He didn't come as a Kshatriya, kill them all. He came as a little Brahmin boy, very dwarf, very small, beautiful. So I'll just read, and this is of course a very shortcut system we're going through here. Yes, here we go. Today is the appearance day, and this is a little bit about his appearance. And he appeared as the sun. First of all, he appeared in the mind of Kashyapa, and then Kashyapa Muni transferred his thoughts into the womb of Aditi, and from Aditi, Lord Vamanadeva appeared. Now, when we say appeared, we don't normally say that about a baby. A normal baby is born. It's not that Vamanadeva was born. He's unborn. He appeared from Aditi's womb. It's not like a normal baby. So we can hear something. Perhaps we hear something. I don't know. We may not. Let's see. We'll just read a bit. This is in the 18th chapter, 8th canto, text number 5. On the day of Shravana Dwadashi, which is today, is the 12th day of the bright fortnight in the month of Bhadra. When the moon came into the lunar mansion Shravana, very auspicious, at the auspicious moment of Abhijit. Abhijit is noontime, right in the middle of the day. The Lord appeared in this universe. Considering the Lord's appearance very auspicious, all the stars and planets from the sun to Saturn were magnificently charitable. Even the planets were charitable. Very auspicious moment. When a child is born, usually people give some charity. The whole universe was giving charity. O King, when the Lord appeared on Dwadashi, the 12th day of the moon, the sun was at the meridian, and every learned scholar knows this Dwadashi is called Vijaya, victory. So we won't read anymore because there's a lot of description therein of that event of the Lord's appearance and how all the various demigods came and gave him various paraphernalia, a deer skin, a kamandalu, a begging bowl, rudraksha beads, and so many things. They gave him a rod, so many things which a normal brahmachari in Vedic times would possess. Nowadays, brahmacharis, the first thing they need is a mobile phone. Next thing is a computer. The next thing is a bank card. What else do brahmacharis need now? Hot shower, the password for the internet, of course. What else do they need?
Tongue scraper.
Tongue scraper. Well, that's not so bad. What else do they need? What do they need? Free ticket every year to India. Their own room. Unheard of. Unheard of. And when you joined Gopaswami, did you say, "Where's my room"? You did. I mean, you didn't have a room to share. What to speak of your own room? Huh? You could be in this room one night and that room the next night, or down in the basement the next day. We were sleeping on the stairs. We were sleeping next to the toilet. We were sleeping in the temple room. Sometimes in the kitchen, even in the bathroom. Devotees were sleeping if there was no other room. One devotee was sleeping in the shower in Bury Place. Nowhere else to sleep. No one had their space. No one had their blanket. No one had their pillow. No one had a sleeping bag. It was all shared. Everything. No one had a plate. No one had their own clothes. We didn't even have our own underwear. Everything was shared. That was the mood. Nothing belonged to you. Nothing. And that's one of the essential lessons of this pastime, that nothing belongs to us. Everything belongs to Krishna. Of course, we have to use our common sense, time, place, and circumstance. We're not proposing to the temple management you should reinstitute this policy as of now. We'll give you a few days to get it into, okay? So are you ready for this new policy? Are you all ready? No? What's wrong with you? You don't want to go back to Godhead? You want to stay here? I don't think it would go down very well in this day and age, huh? What do you think, Maharaj? You are very experienced in the brahmachari ashrams in the manor and in other places.
Yeah, some things you have to keep by yourself.
I bought a Krishna book when I came. It wasn't there. They never saw it again. The next morning it disappeared. Never. Even my beads disappeared the day after initiation. I never saw them again. As soon as a guest came, you had to give them your beads. That was the rule of the day. Even if you were initiation beads, you had to give them to the guest to chant, and you had to chant on your fingers. Different mood, huh? Different spirit. You like this mood, don't you? I can see Giri's. He's thinking, now I want to join the Brahmachari ashram. Wow, sounds nectar. Of course, there were no phones, bank cards, computers, none of these things existed. I won't comment on that. But they didn't exist then. Anyway, one of the activities, whether we think they're not ours, but we may keep them to utilize in Krishna service. Look after them carefully. But don't forget they don't belong to us. Don't chant japa during class. Listen to the class. You can't do both at once. So we're going to run through it now. Let's see where we are now. Okay, so Lord Vamanadeva appears and he marches off. Or walks off, little boy. Walks off. He's so effulgent, he looks like the sun. He goes off to the place where Bali Maharaj is assembled with the Brahmins, Shukracharya, and all the Brahmins of the Bhrigu dynasty. And that is a place. Any of you from Gujarat? Anyone here from Gujarat? Any Gujaratis here? You're a Gujarati. Anyone else a Gujarati? Yes. There is. So I don't know the pronunciation. There's one city in Gujarat named, it's something like Baraguch. It's on the river Narmada. When you go from Mumbai to... Yeah? How do you say it? Bharuch, okay. That is where this yagya was performed. Bhrigu Kutch. It used to be called Bhrigu Kutch, the place of Bhrigu. That's where they performed this yagya. Now it's named almost the same, Bharuch or whatever it's called. And that's where this great yagya was performed. So Vamanadeva went off to that place, and when he arrived, Bali Maharaj, who is king of the demons, they were clever. The main reason the demons were in power is because they were following Brahmins. Even though the Brahmins were ill-motivated, they were nonetheless Brahmins, especially Shukracharya and his sons and so on. And the demons, the demigods, had offended their guru, Brihaspati. They defended him. They lost everything. When you offend your guru, you lose everything. You're finished. So the demons were clever. Bali Maharaj was not an ordinary demon. He was the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, so he was very special. But nonetheless, his role, he's born in the family of the demons, so he's the king. Although in heart he's a devotee, but he's got this position to be the king of the demons. So he's also following the Brahmins, and they're becoming very, very powerful. So this yagya is to become even more powerful. So Lord Vaman, the demigods are scared stiff. What's going to happen? So Vamanadeva comes along, and immediately Bali Maharaj sees him. In his heart of hearts, he completely offers his full respects to the Brahmin. And in brief, he says, how fortunate it is that you've come here today. And he glorifies, he could see that he's no ordinary child. That please, I see that you've come here to ask something, to beg something. Please ask from me whatever you want. I'll give you anything you ask. And you see this, even the demons have this, isn't it, sometimes? Isn't it? Jarasandha. Even Duryodhana. Sometimes when that happens, they take what you want. They say, whatever you want. I give you a planetary system, whatever you want. Take it. O King, controller of the universe, although you are very magnificent and are able to give me as much as land as I want, I do not want anything from you that is unnecessary. One point. Think about it. If it's not necessary, why do we need it? Is it necessary? You have to ask. Maybe you do need 50 saris and 20 dhotis. I don't know. That you have to ask. But here Vamanadeva said, I do not want anything from you that is unnecessary. So particularly Prabhupada says, any Brahmin, if he takes more than necessary, is punishable. Prabhupada writes. Other people may have other standards. If a learned Brahmin takes charity from others only according to his needs, he does not become entangled in sinful activity. Prabhupada writes in the purport, all distress are due to extravagance. Having more than we need. Eating more than we need, having more paraphernalia, whatever it is, more time, using our time for our own sense enjoyment, whatever it may be. Such activities are sinful. Extravagance is sinful. I don't have time to go into anything else, so okay. But you're just a kid. Maybe you don't know. I can give you so many things. Take what you want. Nobody who receives charity from me should ever be short ever again. You have enough for as long as you live. But, Lord Vamanadeva said, my dear king, even the entirety of whatever there may be within the three worlds to satisfy one's senses cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled. You can have the whole universe and you're still not satisfied, isn't it? Do you think the richest people on the planet are satisfied? I don't think so. What I've heard, they're not. Anyway, that's another topic in and of itself, but you get the point. If our senses are not controlled, we're never satisfied. Never. Interesting, if we go back to Aditi, when she was following her husband, one of the main things that is mentioned there in the description of her Payovrata is that she was, by this process, her senses became fully controlled. The senses became controlled. That's another topic. But one whose senses are not controlled, wild horses, they're never satisfied. If you give them billions of dollars, they're still not. So there's a lesson Vamadeva's teaching here. And then, I don't know how many verses we have on this topic, but let's see. He says then, if I were not satisfied with 3 paces of land, then surely I would not be satisfied even with possessing one of the 7 islands, consisting of 9 varshas. Even if I possess one island, I would hope to get others. And that's what happens, isn't it? More and more and more, we're never demons, never satisfied. The Prabhupada writes that people should be educated. The Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada says here. I'll read the previous verse. People must be taught how to be satisfied with only what they need. In modern civilization, there is no such education. Everyone tries to possess more and more, and everyone is dissatisfied and unhappy. That's the fact. The Krishna conscious movement is therefore establishing various farms, especially in America, to show how to be happy and content with minimum necessities of life and to save time for self-realization, which we can very easily achieve by chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now you may say, my God, that doesn't compute. You have to work harder. There's no time left. I was just in Czech just now, and I was talking to 2 devotees who are building houses by hand. They're not using any machines. They're cutting the wood by choppers and ordinary zip saws. Long logs, 40, 50 feet long. And whoop, 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 whoop. They're taking years doing it. I said, what's this? You know? They said, this is ecstasy, blissful. As well, I said, but taking so long. Well, what are we here for? We're here to chant. They said, it's so easy to chant Hare Krishna when we're doing this. So easy. We're just chanting all day long as we're sawing, planing, cutting. All day long chanting. It's not that, don't get it wrong, it's not like, farming means 1 hour in the morning and that's it, finished. The rest of the day chanting. It's not. You work from 6 in the morning till 6 at night. Solid. But you're chanting the whole time. That's the idea. You're remembering Krishna. They say we're always remembering Krishna when we're doing this. It's through the activity that you remember Krishna, like that. And then they're chanting. So there's a different perspective of this understanding. It's not like living on the farm means you can take your time and relax in the sun all day and just go and pick some potatoes in the morning and, buy something from the local supermarket or something and make a meal. It's not like that. It's the system to awaken our Krishna consciousness. Huh?
Yes, you said because if you use machines then you can't think of Krishna.
Yeah, you can't. So many devotees have cut their fingers off because you can do that with anything, of course. But but it's like it's like a real demon in your hands, isn't it? Things like screaming like a demon. Electric toothbrushes. Oh my God. Like a monster in your mouth. Where is it going to? It's not going to end. It'll end when it ends. But there's no end to what you can, get caught up in. One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny. For discontent can never bring happiness. A person who is not self-controlled will not be happy even with possessing the 3 worlds. All right then, you can take your 3 paces of land. Go for it. Little boy, he's only 3 foot tall. What is he going to cover with 3 paces of land? A couple of these tiles, that's it. Stupid kid, what can you do? That's what you want, take it. But of course, Shukracharya, he saw it slightly differently. He knew this guy was, stop! Don't give him anything! Don't you know who this boy is? Here he is, Vamanadeva, there you are. Are you Vamanadeva? No, he's not. Okay, we won't embarrass you then. Where are you from? Germany. Is your mother here?
She's teaching in the guest house.
She's in the guest house, is she? So Vamanadeva, little guy, but it's not his brand. This boy is cheating. He's come to cheat you. Don't give him anything. He's falsely appearing as a brahmachari, but actually he's your enemy, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has come in this form to take away all of your land, all of your wealth, your beauty, your power, your fame and education. He's going to take it all away. After taking everything from you, he will deliver it to your enemy, Indra. You're a fool. Don't give him anything. Be careful, Prabhupada says. If one connects himself with Hari, the personality of Godhead, the Lord takes away everything. Maybe not all at once, please. Can't I just keep a little bit? A little bit, please. At least some underwear, something at least. But he takes away all the miseries. If we surrender to Hari, he takes away all the misery. And in the beginning, the Lord also superficially appears to take away all of his material possessions, reputation, education, and beauty. Famous verse, huh? 10th Canto Bhagavatam, Prabhupada quoted this when everything he tried before he came to the West seemed to fail and be taken away. Family, business, one after the next. And he quoted this verse, Yasyaham managrinami harishetadyanam shanai. The first installment of my mercy toward a devotee is that I take away all of his possessions. First installment. We'll leave the second installment till later. Especially in material opulence and money. Interesting, huh? And then Shukracharya goes on, but then he says, you will be unable to fulfill your promise. You promise to give this boy whatever he wants, but you won't be able to do it. You will fail to fulfill your promise. And I think that because of this inability, your eternal residence will be in hell. Because you failed to give him what he wants. And then he gave so many reasons why you don't need to give him anything. You didn't chant Om before you promised. You're not bound by your promise. This is going to cause so much disturbance for your family. That is also wrong. You'll become infamous. You'll become a beggar. You'll be discredited. So many things. He went on and on with a whole list of arguments. Probably the bottom line is it. No, if you do this, then I won't get my pay at the end of the week anymore. I won't get my share. Materially motivated, huh? Anyway, one thing then, Bali Maharaj then explained his position as the grandson of Prahlad. In our family, nobody has ever offended a Brahmana. We've always been charitable. How can I do that? And there's a very important verse. Listen to this one carefully. He says, there is nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, and some of you know, what did Mother Earth, Bhumi, what did she say?
I can bear any burden except a lion.
Yeah. I can bear any heavy thing except for a person who is a liar. It's very heavy. Bali Maharaj went on to say, I do not fear hell, poverty, an ocean of distress, fall down from my position, or even death itself, as much as I fear cheating a Brahmana. So, okay, take your 3 steps of land. So be it. So, Bali Maharaj performs his achaman. Vamanadeva, go for it. Takes his first step. It wasn't an ordinary step, was it? What did he do? Well, actually, it's described that he expanded himself. He expanded himself so huge. He assumed the universal form. And all the lower and middle planetary systems were seen within his body. Completely. One step, 2/3 of the universe. Gone. Next step, even higher. All the heavenly planets were seen. Well, they were seen literally, he made the step, but they were all seen within his body. All the oceans, mountains, planetary systems, everyone could see it. They were all within the form of Vamana. And then he said, okay, I've taken 2 steps. Where am I going to put my 3rd? There's nothing left. Everything's gone. Even his electric toothbrush was gone. Everything's gone. Everyone's pointing at each other. Yeah. That's why you have such a high electric bill, now I know. So all those toothbrushes are zooming away up there. Anyway, I'm not against electric toothbrushes, by the way. Sometimes you may need them, I don't know. But then he said, okay, you broke your promise. Arrest him. Garuda came with the ropes of Varuna, and they tied him up like a dog bound up, an animal. Humiliated, completely humiliated. What to do? In that situation, Bali Maharaj was thinking, what to do? I can't bear this. So he thought, well, I've still got my body. Please, my Lord, put your third step on my head. This is very famous. Probably the most famous part of the whole pastime. So Bali Maharaj became a Mahajan as a result of this. Considered to be one of the Mahajans, the great souls of the universe, who surrendered everything to the Lord. Absolutely everything. And so the Lord did. He placed his foot on the head of Bali Maharaj and fulfilled, you could say, that promise. At that point of time, Lord Brahma and others appeared on the scene, glorifying the Lord. And Vindhyavali, and let's see, where are we now? Oh, I will mention one other thing first. Sukadeva Goswami continued. I don't hope I haven't missed a verse out here. I don't think so. Sukadeva Goswami continued, thereafter, the spiritual master, Shukracharya, being inspired by the Supreme Lord, cursed his exalted disciple, Bali Maharaj, who was so magnanimous and fixed in truthfulness that instead of respecting his spiritual master's instruction, he wanted to disobey his order. So he was cursed. So this is two important things here. One is, important in one sense, is that Bali Maharaj disobeyed his spiritual master. This seems to be contrary to everything we hear practically. And it's a topic in of itself, it's a whole class. But in short, when his spiritual master gave contrary instructions against what he'd spoken before, against the Vedic scriptures, against the sadhus, he had to consider carefully what to do. And he chose, it wasn't a quick decision, but he chose to disobey his spiritual master's instruction not to give charity. And he gave that charity, and the result now he's been cursed to go down. And there's a description here of that, of his going down to the lower planetary systems. Let's see. Into Sutala Loka, but that actually the Lord, Vamanadeva said, I will be there. I reside there. It's like a heavenly planet in the lower planets, Sutala Loka. And there Bali Maharaj resided for a long period of time, and the Lord said, in the future you will also attain the position of Indra in a future millennium. After your time down there is finished. Prahlad Maharaj went there also. And here we see, far from being elevated to the heavenly planets or fulfilling one's desire, one who properly does not give a beggar, or this is Bali Maharaj still speaking, I think. Far from being elevated to the heavenly planets or fulfilling one's desire, one who does not properly give a beggar what he has promised falls down to a hellish condition of life. Being falsely proud of your possessions, this must be the Lord speaking. You promised to give me land, but you could not fulfill your promise. Therefore, because your promise was false, you must live for a few years in hellish life. We're jumping forward now a little bit. Prahlad Maharaj said, after, this is actually before he was going down, my Lord, it is your Lordship who gave this Bali the very great opulence of the post of heavenly king. And now today it is you who have taken it all away. Everything is done by the Lord. I think you have acted with equal beauty in both ways. Because his exalted position as King of Heaven was putting him in the darkness of ignorance, you have done him a very merciful favor by taking away all of his opulence. Nice. By the Lord taking it away, it's actually relieved us of the problem. We don't always think like that. So then the wife of Prahlad Maharaj came on the scene, of Bali Maharaj rather. Her name was Vinjavali. She appeared on the scene to address her husband. Vinjavali was a faithful wife who was aware of what was going on, but she came and spoke to her husband. She said, "Oh my Lord, you have created," she's speaking to the Lord here first, "you have created the entire universe for the enjoyment of your personal pastimes." Now she addresses her husband. "But foolish, unintelligent men," pointing at her husband, "have claimed proprietorship for material enjoyment. Certainly they are shameless agnostics. Falsely claiming proprietorship, they think they can give charity and enjoy." He's chastising her husband. "In such a condition, what good can they do for you, who are the independent creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this universe?" So she's saying, basically speaking, Prabhupada talks about this a little in the purport and in one lecture he gave. He said she was far more advanced than her husband spiritually. Her husband was still thinking, "I'm giving, I'm surrendering everything." But she said, "You'd never had anything to surrender, you fool. You thought it was yours. You're still thinking you're worried about infamy. You're worried about these things. When will you wake up? When will you understand everything, including you, belong to him? Everything belongs to him, beginning, middle, and end. You never were the proprietor. That's your illusion. You're not the giver. You have nothing to give. We have to give up this idea that we've got something to give. And we could say our heart. But other than that, we've got nothing to give. Everything belongs to him. It's already his. Of course, this is part of the process. Like offering a lamp to the sun. It's part of the process. But the actual more elevated stage, the surrendered soul, understands from the very beginning that everything is Krishna's and is only meant for his pleasure. It never was meant for anything else. So she's teaching this deeper lesson, you could say. That was the wife of Bali Maharaj. So then everything goes on, and if you have time, you can read these pastimes of Lord Vamanadeva, the various lessons which we can learn from this pastime to help us to understand that actually we belong and everything belongs to him. Yes?
Just to know, this verse was spoken by Sukaracharya before he took the land or after?
Before he what?
He took the land. Vamanadeva took the land.
Yeah, everything's already over. This is the
before or after?
after, yeah.
I'm surprised because he doesn't like Vishnu.
Shukracharya is playing a part. He's playing a part. And even the demons, Vishnu is included in their yagyas and so on and so forth as another one of the powers or whatever. But he's playing a part. Shukracharya is a partial expansion of Lord Shiva. He's playing a part. As Bali Maharaj appears to be the king of the demons, he's actually a devotee. But we see also in the case of Indra and what was his name? What was his name? Huh? Vritasura. He appears to be a demon, but he's actually a great devotee. Sometimes great devotees play demonic. Even Jai and Vijay took the roles of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. For various reasons, they take different roles. Sometimes they're aware of their position, sometimes they're not. But, he's not. It's not that we say, oh, he's a demon. He's playing the role of a demon, and he's acting like a demon. But he's not. He's aware. In this case, he's aware of the actual position. Because that's the Lord's, here the very verse says, we heard earlier on, inspired by the Lord. He inspired by the Lord to curse Bali Maharaj, inspired by the Lord. The Lord is inspiring everyone in the heart accordingly. It's in everyone's heart. So Everyone's guided by the Lord. It's just whether we see things in relationship with Him or not. But everyone's being guided by the Lord, even the demons. So when we realize we're being guided, then it becomes a different thing. It's simply a change of perspective, that's all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Vamanadeva ki jai, Jiva Swami Abhibhav Mahotsav ki jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.